Everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It is after the close on August 13th, 2012. We're going to take a look at the S&P real quick. Frankly, not a great deal happened today, but we got one little data point in that I think might give us a slightly different variation on the chart. We'll take a look at that in a second. Before we do, I just need to remind you that the website and the video are for educational purposes only. Nothing stated at the site or in this video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research, and you need to make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I am not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy that draws lines on charts, and this is going to be short and sweet. I'm assuming that you've watched the video over the weekend and videos last week. This is just a little refinement to what we've talked about in the last few videos. Looking here at a 10-minute chart, you can see we are still right in this same range. We've been in this range now for 6 days. You could even say 7 days if you extend the range down just a little bit. And we have two areas where we're expecting resistance. One is this neckline from last spring's Head and Shoulders top. The other is this orange trend line right here that defines pretty much the trading that we've had for the last couple of months. Even though it's running a little ragged, we still have to try to draw that line the best we can. Going back to the 10-minute chart, we had initial weakness today, but then we had a bounce. Then we seemed to encounter a little resistance near the end of the day, and then again at the very end of the close of the session. Now, where did we bounce? Well, anytime you got a decent-looking bounce, you need to try to see as best as you can what in the chart lines up. And now we have a point that lines up with the lows on the 3rd, the lows early on the 10th, and twice today. So now, instead of being extremely concerned with the line that we did have for the lows, I'm looking at this line as being perhaps more indicative of when this breaks. You can see that this line right here did break. We got over it a little bit, and then today we took that line out again to the downside and pretty much kind of back tested that line. So this still may be an operating trend line within this pattern. But you can see that it now sort of looks like we may be making a symmetrical triangle. Now, you remember one of our stupid little tests that I said sometimes you can apply to see if you're getting a triangle or some type of converging pattern? And that is to just start with the apex of the pattern and pull yourself a line through the pattern that bisects it as close as you can. Bisect is a fancy word for cutting it in half. Okay? So if we do that, which I just did here, let's make this line that light blue color again. If we do that, and to avoid confusion, I'm going to get rid of this line. You can see that our little bisect line had something to say with what was going on inside this pattern on the 6th, had something to say about what was going on inside this pattern on the 8th, as there was a little resistance here. Then when it came up, it became support pretty much again on the 9th. Then we came down again, had a hard time getting over the line on the 10th, finally did, came down today, encountered a little resistance around the middle of the day, then came back up, and now it looks like, it does look like this line is having some influence in this pattern. Now, if this is a good pattern, this triangle is a significant pattern for us to be looking at, we can look at it right now and say, well, it can't last much longer. As a matter of fact, it can't last more than 2 days. This either has to take out the top line or it has to take out the bottom line. Either tomorrow or the next day. Either that or we go right to this 1402.50 mark, and then on the 16th we find out which way it goes, because it just isn't that large of a pattern. So if this since this is forming here at these areas of expected resistance, it's kind of hard to expect an upside breakout from this. But if it were to happen, we know what to apply here. We look at the first reactive move, which would be right here. And that tells us that whatever happens, we expect a move of roughly 16 points to take place when this pattern breaks. If it breaks to the upside, then that should lead to a move up to 1420. But you know, it's got a hurdle to overcome here. And if it breaks to the downside, then we're looking at something in the mid 1380s. So this is not a huge pattern. What's kind of interesting is how little volatility we've had over the past 6 to 7 sessions. And when you start to lose volatility, you are doing it for one of two reasons. You are either up against stubborn resistance, or in the case of it being in a low, stubborn support, and you're going to reverse. Or it's also possible that this is the market absorbing enough shares, building another little base for another upwards push. But I still think that push is going to be tough because of this neckline that we are now under, and also because of the resistance area that we have here on this orange line. But for right now, I would just say watch this pattern. We are still within it, and whichever way it breaks, that's probably going to set up a move of at least 16 points in the direction of the breakout. And if it breaks to the downside, I suspect we would probably get more downside out of it than just that 16 points, because we have a couple areas of support that are a little bit lower than that, and I don't really see a whole bunch of reason to expect support anywhere in this little void area right here. So guys, that's pretty much the video for today. Again, you know, when the market is sort of flat like this, I can't add a whole bunch. I don't want to make up something just for the sake of running my mouth. So let's just keep it with, let's watch this pattern, see if this triangle's what's going on. If we get a breakout to the upside, 1420 is what the target is. But again, it's got to overcome this some resistance before it can get there, which leads me to believe that we're probably still going to get a downside breakout from this pattern. So look guys, thanks for watching, and thank you for your support. Take care.